right, Pablo. Hey, nice to meet you too.
Hey, really great to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, not a problem. Hey, congratulations for the deepest cave for a Nat Geo.
Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, how did this project actually came about for you? What sparked it? How did it originate?
I've focused a lot on exploration. I work a lot on expeditions, mostly like mountaineering and climbing. Um, and my colleagues at Nat Geo, they approached me with this caving expedition, and I had never been in a cave before. I wasn't sure how claustrophobic I was. I didn't think I was claustrophobic. Um, but a lot of caving is just rope work and rope management, and there's a few differences in how things operate inside a cave. But I felt like it was a good challenge for me. And what I loved about it was there wasn't a lot of really high quality footage inside caves. And it was a good challenge for me to kind of figure out how to capture this expedition, and that's really what drew me to it.
Now, before you enter that cave, your footage actually showed you going through this training process. Could you tell us more about this training process and how long that it actually took?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually flew to Bill Stone's house. Bill was the expedition leader, and he has his own rope course set up, and we had a full training course. A lot of it is for his peace of mind. He's really adamant about whoever's in the cave that they're self-sufficient, that they know what they're doing. And like I said, like I do I think a lot of my mountaineering experience transitioned well, and so the learning curve wasn't that hard. So it took me just a little bit to learn the different caving techniques. And then once we got to Oaxaca, to the mouth of the cave, everyone runs through this ropes course, just to show that you're competent, that you know how to do it. And then from there on, you're kind of expected to be on your own in terms of holding yourself accountable and safety and all that.
Well, thank goodness you passed that rope course, or else we wouldn't have this documentary in the first place.
Yeah, I think it just would have been a lot of GoPro footage, which still good, but yeah, it would have been tricky to tell the story.
Now, how did Bill know that Cheve Cave was going to be one of the deepest caves out there?
So I think Cheve has been explored for, I think, over 30 years. And, every expedition, they're making new discoveries. And what makes Cheve interesting is from the mouth of the cave, which is where the river runs through. They know where where that river exits, and the difference in the altitude between where it starts in the cave and where it exits the cave makes it the deepest cave in the world, but it's not proven. So until we're able to find the passage, we can't necessarily prove that it's the deepest cave, but it has the potential of being the deepest cave in the world, which is what makes Cheve so enticing for someone like Bill. It has that potential, and every expedition they're pushing it more and more and more. And yeah, I could see the addiction. I think he's already planning another expedition next year, so he's not stopping.
Now, for yourself, how long did it take you to get used to the cave itself? I'm sure it didn't. You didn't get used to it on the first day. I mean, the lighting and the climate and everything else.
Yeah, it's really interesting because with mountaineering, you see the mountaintop, you see the objective, and you're staring at it for hours and hours and hours. What's interesting about caving is your surroundings change by the second. Every turn is a different scenario, and so it really forces you to be completely present and really engaged. And that's one thing that is different with caving. On a mountain, obviously something happens and a helicopter might be able to rescue you. Like in the cave, there's no real rescue there. And so you kind of have to change your mindset where your level of caution is that much higher. And then that was something that took me a while to get used to. you know, because everything's slippery, everything's wet, and you check all your ropes, you check all the bolts. Like, just that level of safety is that much higher than I think any other scenario I've been in. And it took a
Uh,
while to get into that frame of mind.
I was going to say, how did you handle all of this mentally? I mean, there's a lot of issues getting involved. Is the darkness, claustrophobia, dangers could be lurking at every corner.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I realized that I'm not claustrophobic, and so that element was not a factor. Thankfully, because you know there were some really tight situations that we were in. Um, you know, but I think just you just learn to keep composure. You know, you're not by yourself. There's people around you that are also experienced, that you know you trust in their decision making. Um, and yeah, after a while you just start becoming more comfortable in your scenario, in your environment, while not being complacent. I think that's the important thing, is you're always kind of respecting the cave. You know, you're not cowboying through the cave and jumping and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, obviously, you didn't get stuck in the cave in those tight spots, or else we wouldn't be talking here. But I'm curious, because of those tight spots. If there were situations where you couldn't go forward, how do you move backwards?
That's a
Is
really good
there is,
question.
is there a chance to move backwards or no?
You just make it work. I mean, if you're going forward and you can't turn around, then you have to figure out how to scoot back, or find a space where you can kind of move your body and turn around. You know, it's really interesting how much you learn about your body and your body movement, and it almost feels like an extreme yoga, you know, event where you're just like contorting your body, and you know, well, if I move this shoulder this way and kink my neck here, then I could fit through here. And like, it's the self-awareness is really something I'd never experienced before. It was pretty amazing.
Now, as a cinematographer yourself, could you tell us about the camera equipment that you actually brought into the cave, and how you managed to protect them after all those days and weeks?
Well, that's what was really interesting, is, you know, I've never been in a cave, and there's only so much information I had on it. And so it was really interesting trying to figure out, you know, what are the best cameras to bring, how much battery, how much media. And, you know, it's not until you really get there that you realize, like, oh, wow, like I'm carrying way too much gear. This is way too heavy, or it's too big. It physically won't fit through the holes. And you quickly start learning, like, what you need to get the job done. And when it comes down to it, you know, storytelling. And even if it's just a small camera, if that's what you have, you know, that's the best camera for the situation. You know, humidity was, I think, one of the biggest challenges that we had. You know, lenses getting full of condensation. That was something that we didn't expect it to be as extreme as it was. You know, and so that was a huge challenge, was like keeping everything dry. You know, everything was so humid, everything was so wet. You know, silica packets, you know, having garbage bags over your camera so that all the dirt doesn't get on it. It was, you know, probably one of the most extreme environments for camera equipment. And, you know, the caves aren't friendly to electronics. So that was a huge challenge for sure.
Did you lose anything, or by miracle you got everything out?
There were, I think we lost maybe a camera body. I may have crashed a drone, but thankfully I was able to fix it. That was something that was, on a side note, that was um, a fun experiment. I'd never flown a drone inside a cave, and caves are actually a lot windier than you think. And obviously there's no GPS with a drone. And so you're kind of trying to react to different winds in the situations. And I crashed it once, but luckily it wasn't fatal. But, you know, we had several lights fail, microphones fail. And, luckily we had some backups. But again, if something breaks and you don't have a spare, it might be days before you get what you need. So we always had, a GoPro just in case, our main camera broke, we had a backup. And so that definitely happened. But that's expedition.
Great. And so what's going to be your next project? Are you going to keep doing this, or you rather stick with the outdoors like you usually do?
I don't have any caving in on the horizon. I'm not opposed to it. I would definitely, go exploring again. I'm actually heading to Greenland on another expedition with Nat Geo in this summer. So that's the next big project. But no, I'm always excited for something new. I definitely caught the bug. I can see how addictive caving is, even though it just seems like a big sufferfest. It's a pretty special experience.
Well, Pablo, let me leave with one more thought. When people watch your documentary, The Deepest Cave, what is the one most important thing you hope that people learn from watching your documentary?
I think what I love about the people that I filmed in that is that they're not professional athletes. These are people who they have a day job, but they just have this incredible passion for exploration. And I think we can all find excitement and adventure on our own terms. Like, you don't have to go to the deepest cave, but I hope that when people see this and see just how passionate these people are, that maybe they can find their own passions and they go have their own explorations and have their own adventures. That's kind of ultimately what gets me excited is just getting people motivated to get out or get in and have their own fun.
That is true. That is certainly motivating. Pablo, congratulations for The Deepest Cave, and thank you for carrying this conversation with us about your film.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.